So you're a fan of Atlanta United, and after winning MLS Cup in year 2, you'd think we'd be contending every year.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's what you guys thought.
6 years, 3 coaches, an interim coach,
Twice.
and no legitimate runs at the title? What the hell happened?
Well, you've come to the right place.
Was it bad front office player management?
Probably.
Were the coaches all wrong?
Yep.
Did the tactics suck?
Definitely.
Didn't we already cover that?
Yeah, but it's a new era with new hope and new questions to discuss.
Is Dyla the answer? Are Lagaway and Henderson the right dynamic duo? Or will they spend all our gam on another Miguel Berry?
Join us as we drink wine, break it all down, and sort it all out.
I'm Mikey Dobbs.
I'm David Katz.
And I'm Carmen Butler.
And this is Season 7
of the ATL On Fire podcast show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of ATL On Fire, the podcast where we talk all things Atlanta United Football Club and all things soccer. Dave, you've got a logo that's upright. What's up with that?
Well,
we're upside down still. I don't know if you've noticed.
That's true, but there's nothing left to be up.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's no more fire in the fire. Let's just.
It's gone.
Just
so you know, people,
ATL
the
on
fire
ice.
In the middle of the summer, it's fake.
Yeah.
So just like our team.
Yes. Jeez. Dave, you were at the last 2 games, right?
Yes, so I was there on Wednesday night. I was there on Saturday, unfortunately.
What was the crowd like? What's it like to be in a game environment?
It wasn't awful, actually. I expected it to be completely moribund, but it wasn't terrible. I mean, the crowds weren't good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as dead as I thought it was. People were trying to urge the team on, Mikey Dobbs.
Yeah. Talk about urging us on. Hopefully Carmen is maybe on an airplane heading west.
That's right.
Urging us on. She's not able to join us this evening.
You know what else is urging us on, Mikey Dobbs?
What's that?
Our sponsors.
Our sponsors are always urging us on.
Are amazing.
They always keep our spirits up.
That is correct. You want to tell them about it?
Yeah. So while we're drinking something different tonight, if you want to enjoy a great Georgia wine, Wolf Mountain Vineyards up in the Dahlonega Plateau is your location to get away, maybe get a little higher altitude, get some air conditioning, some lunch, and do a wine tasting up there.
I have to say, for those of you who are out there, so I was just out in Napa, wine tasting at some fantastic vineyards. I was at Clos de Val, which is one of the best wineries in Napa. And while I was there, because, I now collaborate with the Wolf Mountain Vineyard, guys, Brandon and whatever, and they said the whole Wolf Mountain Vineyard guys were all out there because they're discussing, exchanging ideas. So for those of you who want to know, those guys are serious, man. They really know what they're doing.
100%. You will not be disappointed. And also, you won't be disappointed if you make a visit to Wild Heaven Brewery. 3 locations here in Atlanta, one here in Avondale Estates, one on the West End, and a new one over by you, Dave, at Toco Hills that's got Fox Brothers Barbecue. And you're going to be doing a talk there, correct, on the 30th?
That's correct. If you're out and about, you want to stop in, you want to hear a little about science, I'm going to be giving a science community lecture next Wednesday night. All right. It's 6, I think.
Awesome. I'm going to try to make it up there. Cold beer and science is a good recipe, too, to just relax and learn something.
I'm going to double-check the time for the others. Go ahead.
So what did you bring us to drink tonight, though, David? It's Dolum Estates? Dolum? Am I pronouncing that correct?
Napa.
Napa Valley?
Yeah. Yeah, so the doors are actually at 5:30, and my talk is at 6:30. It's $10. Comes with 1 free beer.
Giddy up.
So that's it's not so bad.
Yeah, free beer, and then order yourself some barbecue with that extra change.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is it's a decent Napa.
Yeah, it's very nice.
What do you think?
I like it. It had a little chutzpah when I took the first sip there.
All right.
Not as good as your 50th birthday wine that we had the other night. Yeah.
How can we have Carmen a 50th birthday wine when I'm only 46?
Happy early birthday today. Your real birthday's in a couple hours?
Yeah.
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
The big 5-0.
Oh,
the big 5-0.
Now everybody knows. Thanks, Mikey.
Join the club. Join the club. All right. So Atlanta United, since our last podcast, which has been almost a month, there's been international break and all sorts of stuff happening. And talk a little bit about the U.S. men's national team. I don't think we have since the Gold Cup.
It was only 2-3 weeks ago. Anyway.
Yeah. It was like the 5th of June. The team went on a 3-game draw streak. It was like 0-0 against DC United, a 1-1 draw against somebody, and then another 2-2 draw against somebody. And then on Saturday, we start off hot, right? We could come out 1-0.
I like it's just somebody, whatever. It doesn't matter. Some score. Somebody. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, we've given up. But it's just we're going to talk soccer at this point. And so I think the topic of what we want to get into here that you brought to the table when you came in, we didn't want to sit here and just complain, which is easy to do.
We've been doing a lot of that. Actually, if you listen to the last podcast, I mean, Mikey Dowse were,
it's an all-time low.
You were on the edge. You were like off the rails.
Well, it's because I've crossed over. I have to go so extreme that now I've come to peace with the fact that we're just bad, and I'm just going to be happy. But your topic was what makes a good soccer team.
Yes,
and
what makes a bad soccer team.
And what makes a bad soccer team. But I think you're asking that question from a lot of different angles, from probably, of course, coaching, but also the players, the mentality, all of that stuff that.
Well, one of the things that I think
the parts greater, the sum greater than the parts.
Yeah, well, one of the things I was thinking is that a lot of coaches are really good at, either coaching offense or coaching defense, but not necessarily both. And, one thing about both of us, we've both played as defenders and we've played as forwards. We've been like the prime scorer on our team and one of the better defenders on the team. So I think it, maybe is why we see it the same way and why we see it a little bit different, than what most people see, because we've played it in both positions. So when you're forward, you get used to what's good on offense and maybe what's bad, and the same vice versa when you're playing defense.
Well, maybe I'll just jump in from the last 20 years where I've been a lazy old man playing up front and getting worse and worse. But the same thing applies when things aren't working, even on like a little 7v7 field. Mm-hmm. If you're the only one that has their back turned to goal and the rest of the team isn't really pushing up, it can be really frustrating to try to manufacture goals. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably...
You mean when you're kind of on an island?
Yeah. But, it's interesting with Atlanta United, we've been talking about it earlier on in the year. We do have numbers in the box.
Yep.
But not a lot of quality in terms of, like, the chances.
It's actually interesting you say that because we have pointed it out. We do have numbers in the box, but we don't necessarily have a lot of numbers in midfield, right? Yeah. So, like, when we have the same number of midfielders. I'm not talking about the formation, but I'm talking about when we're transitioning to offense, we don't have a ton of options for playing the ball through the middle.
Yeah.
We kind of have, a long option and then maybe one guy with the ball, maybe a second guy, but it's not like there's tons of options.
But back to playing offense, like particularly 11 aside, right? Mm-hmm. You need that creativity. It's much harder in 11 aside to change the speed and put the back line on their heels. And that's what I loved about, 2017, 18, even 19. Mm-hmm. You had teams on their heels.
Yep.
And that didn't mean that we had, 80% possession and we always had them on their heels. No, we were an exciting brand of soccer that took those moments, and the rest of the team they all knew that this is when we're bombing up, and we're gonna go right. Yep. And when you have that as someone up front, whether that was Joseph or whomever, it's infectious in terms of the people that want to get involved.
Well, one of the things our friend Doug was talking about, from the championship team, those of you who were watching back then, you'll remember Gressel was out wide, and sometimes we would, have, Al Marone and Joseph running through the middle, right? But sometimes we would have an outlet out wide, and then Gressel would play an early ball in behind the defenders, right? So that was like a different midfield combination. And one of the things, like you think about this team, right? So we supposed to have 3 on the front line, right?
Yeah.
So there's Latte Lath in the center, but then it's usually, it's Saba and it's been Almiron, it's been other people. But we use those players. We play to Saba's feet. We play to Almiron, but they're not super open. And even if they are, it's not like lots of people are running through the middle.
Right. Right. And, when we have seen the creative moments, it had like early on in the season, it was Saab outright.
Yeah.
And he was getting it with wide open space.
Yeah.
He was putting players on their heels, and there was some hope.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time we saw that? It's been games and games and games. I mean,
yeah, I mean, we occasionally get forward and get into dangerous positions, but it's really methodical. You know, it's not quick.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when we do get the ball deep in their end, you know, when there's a cross from Lennon or somebody's getting to the end line, we tend to have a lot of guys in the box by then.
Yeah.
But when we're breaking through the midfield, there's not a lot of options.
Yeah. And I feel like we became pretty two-dimensional with the way we attacked with Latte Lot, who had early success with all the headers, and then tried to go to that probably too often, and it became pretty predictable in terms of the way that teams are defending.
Right.
So what else makes for, you know, a good soccer team? I think.
Well, let's go position by position, and maybe I want to talk about position by position. I want to talk a little bit about, you know, as a team when the team, you know, overachieves compared to the talent or underachieves compared to the talent, right?
Yeah. Well, okay, let's go a step kind of behind Latte Lot in terms of like more of the attacking center midfield, which I guess would be Miranchuk in our case, right? You want somebody who's all class on the ball, who you just have a lot of faith in terms of they're not going to just give the ball up.
Can't be turning the ball over from there.
And they're going to be able to see the field, slow down, and make a pass that nobody else can make on the field. That's kind of what you want from
killer
that
pass.
Killer pass.
And you want them to be available a lot.
Yeah, you want them to be all over the field and available and just involved.
Yeah,
like
I mean, if you go back to the championship team, Al Marone was playing that role, right? And he was available all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually interesting because as an attacking midfielder on that team, right, often he would pick up the ball 10, 20 yards out in front of our center backs.
Yeah.
Like, he was pretty deep, but he was always available.
Yeah, and you need a lot of creativity, and that can come in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be like taking people on and beating them. It can be just pure vision and class of being able to just play a beautiful ball that nobody else can.
So Miranchuk checks the box in terms of when he's on the ball, he's really hard to dispossess.
Yeah.
He's got 2 good feet, and he can deliver a killer ball.
Yeah. But something's missing, right?
Well, he's not all over the place. I mean, he does move around.
Yeah.
He drifts into
space,
space,
nice
but he's
spaces.
not like so active. He's not making runs.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So there are you know, attacking midfielders who are making runs and moving around. He's not. Yeah. He's drifting into spaces, but he doesn't really make runs.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing. You know, and then the other thing, when he's on the ball, you know, he's not going to dribble by anybody. Yeah. You know, Al Marone a lot of times would dribble into a space and create in those old years. He's not going to do that. He's not going to dribble by a guy or dribble, you know, away from somebody. You know, and he doesn't have so what I think is for a Miranchuk, could he be amazing? If he has a lot of options, he can really pull the string. But he doesn't have that many options.
And why is that?
Well, you know, it's funny because I look at our team, you know, and in terms of willing runners, and I see, you know, Saba as a willing runner. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, not lately, but
Al Marone and Latte.
I see Al Marone and Latte Loth, all of who seem willing runners. And at the beginning of the season, they were interchanging. You would see them, you know, different sides or whatever. It didn't work that well, but because we had other problems. But that's gone, right? Like, I feel like the team has reined it in. We don't have that freedom, right? And those guys should be freedom to just run and go where they see the, you know, find the game.
I think that's a good transition to what makes a good winger or forward, right? Out in Saba and Al Marone, right? Of course it is work rate. Like, those guys have to be some of the fittest guys on the field. So fitness, first and foremost, is critical in those positions, because at times they should run back and help when necessary. It's not necessarily their main role.
Got to be able to get up and down,
get up and down, and that makes a huge difference, and it builds trust with the guys behind you when you save their ass, and you show that. Like, I think there's trust that's built when you do that, as that's not my job, and it doesn't mean that you should be doing that all the time, because then you're not a release option.
Yep.
But there's moments where you can really build the trust by
if you see our team though, so again, comparing to our championship team, right? So in our championship team, those guys, the Almirones of the team, or Villalba, who was there, and those guys were expected to track back and get in a tackle, and pressure the ball. But no, they didn't have a defensive role.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at our team now, at times, Saba or Almiron are outside, expected to mark the outside guys occasionally. And that just seems
and that's
unnecessary.
Right, which brings me to my next point, which is the most important thing, is that they be creative and attack people.
Right.
They need to be the two people on the field that instill fear in the other team.
Right.
And boy, lately, Saba obviously hasn't been getting the starts to do that, but I saw, he's at least willing to do it when I see him. He doesn't seem afraid to attack people.
No.
Almiron is a little bit more hesitant than I'd like to see. Particularly,
he was never a guy who took a guy on though. He was a guy who would, attack the space, and when a guy cut him back, he would turn and go the other way.
This is MLS though.
I know.
In 2022,
I don't really think he's that different.
In 2022, he's blazing by people in the EPL and scoring some of the best goals of EPL. That's not very long ago. He should be able to attack people a little more than I am seeing versus what I saw even in a little bit of the recent games, where it's a little too slow, no ideas on how we're going to build it up, and nothing really happens.
I'm not saying I disagree, but I have to say there's also not, again, because there's not a lot of movement.
Yeah.
It compounds it, right? Because as soon as there's movement, then he has places to go.
Yeah.
Right? Because he can, you see it actually, him faking a guy and going into a space, he does that really well.
Yeah.
Right? He has that amazing cut, he just sells it and boom, he's gone, right? But, that only works if there's a pass.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, no, now I think we're talking about, at least with our front four, who are our best players, some very observable patterns that have emerged that are the lack of movement for each other.
Yeah.
In a way that is just committed to winning.
Yeah.
And when, that's from the whistle of just being you have this mentality, you're going to absolutely score. Yeah. And we have lost that completely. You saw it the first 3 games, and I was we're back, baby. Because I saw it, even though we got unlucky a lot on not finishing a bunch of them. Yep. It was there. Yep. It was there. It is long gone.
It's gone.
It is totally out of our DNA now.
Right.
So
one thing is as a coach, or what I want to see in an amazing team, right? So when the ball turns over, those front guys, regardless of whether it's 1 or 3 or whatever, I want to see them really available. I want to have them where the defenders have to make a choice, right? So I always talk about off the ball, if you're the attacker, right? Don't be standing next to your defender, right? Go get away from them, go a little wide, go a little deep, and make them make a choice. So the ball turns over, they have a choice, right? Yeah. They either have to come up and get you, right? In which case they potentially get sucked out of their position, right? And leave an open space behind them, or they have to leave you open, in which case they can just play to you and you turn, right? You have to make them make choices.
Yeah.
And one of the things about us offensively, right? Even so, a lot of times when the ball turns over, one of the two, Saba or Almiron, is actually along the back line. So then that becomes they're not even, can't be an option there, right? They're just getting going, right? They could be a secondary option and maybe a well-timed secondary option because they can be running up the field. But you need the first ball, right? That first ball, one of the things that the audience, the crowd, the Atlanta United crowd is reacting to a lot of times, maybe we play the first ball, but the second ball is just to keep possession, right? It's backwards, it's sideways, because there's no easy second ball.
Yeah. So do we want to move on to the other center mids? Where do you want to go from here?
Wherever you want to go.
Let's do that. So what do we got? More of a holding center mid? And
center
then
midfield.
The 6 behind.
Yeah.
So Sleece and Click is the example of
Well, Click hasn't played in a long time, right? So it's been Sleece and Muyumba lately.
Sleece and Muyumba lately? Well, I haven't
been
watching
much. Sleece and Fortune.
Yeah, Fortune. So, okay, let's go there, right? And we'll talk about Click being on waivers here in a minute.
Right. Gone.
So, let me ask you, what do you want from those players? What do you like to see?
Well, from a defensive midfielder, I think you got to not only you want to see them getting in tackles and winning the ball, but the most important thing, even more important than winning the ball, is actually, again, when the ball turns over the other way, when the other team gains possession, right? Do they now have the easy option open, right? Yeah. That, to me, so much of soccer, right, is about what happens in the first 3 to 5 seconds after the ball turns over. If you are able to make an easy first pass, and especially if you're able to make a second pass off of that, the other team's in big trouble. So one of the things is when your offensive players, when they're not playing offense, so let's say we're playing on defense, right? The Almiron, Saba, and Latte Loth have to be taking up positions, right, where they are now available, right, where they have space to run into. Now, obviously, they cannot do that if they're actually playing along the back line. That's first of all. But even if they are playing front, they have to be in positions where they have a beautiful, easy first option and a beautiful, easy second option, right? Then we're gone. Right. And so the same thing, the converse is true if you're playing defensive midfield. So then the question is when the ball turns over for us. So let's say, Miranchuk plays the ball. He tries to play through to Latte Loft. Their center back steps up and wins it. Okay. He's looking up the field. Maybe he's like 5 or 10 yards outside of his own 18, somewhere in there. Right. Yeah. That first 3 seconds, does he have a first option? And does that player have a second option? Right. And to me, if we have to grade something for Atlanta United, that is like the ultimate F. Yeah. Right? Because when the ball turns over, they always have that option. Always. Yeah. Right? It's just unbelievably frustrating. They always have an easy option.
Yeah. All right. So are you kind of lump them both in that category? Obviously needing to read where the ball is being picked up, pressure quickly so that it's not certainly an easy second ball.
There's lots of different ways to do it, right? So you can play the dreaded double pivot, where one guy is supposed to be going on offense and the other guy is always, and they take turns being that guy. You can play with just a holding midfielder where it's always that guy, like a Tyler Adams on the U.S. national team when it's just a single one guy. Or you can play, the ultimate in total football when you have the old Barcelona teams, right, with Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets, where there's 3 guys and they just have a triangle all the time. And as the triangle always rotates, there's always someone sitting behind, right? Yeah. So it can be done in any way. But the bottom line is, regardless, the way you know whether it's working is if you hit pause on your DVD, the moment the ball turns over.
DVD, kids.
Yeah, sorry. Your DVR, your TV, whatever, your TiVo.
TiVo. I love TiVo.
Anyway, you hit pause on your television when the ball turns over and you just say, all right, looking up the field, is there guys open and is there a second guy open? Yeah. So, for example, if you want to use a classic example, the goal that we gave up in the first 20 seconds of the second half of this past game against Charlotte, they played the ball back. We kind of went up the field, okay, trying to get a little pressure off. They played into the center circle to the guy in the middle, right? And he had a one-touch pass out wide, right? So they had 1, 2. As soon as you have the 2, the second pass, now you're scrambling. Right? Because now everybody reacted to that first and second pass. And if you completed the second one, they're going at you. Right?
Now, when they have an opportunity to possess the ball or win the ball in that situation, it's so critical. When we had Darlington Nagbe, it was so glorious to see somebody who could, when they had the ball, if it was me, I would have lost it. But they do something extra special, keep the ball, and release it out of pressure.
Yep.
I feel like those positions, it's so important, particularly that 6 role, to be able to do that and do it elegantly. I think Sleece has some of that capability. But the other thing outside of that is also being able to put in a damn tackle.
A tackle. Yeah, you got to be able to put a tackle. I mean,
this team doesn't.
Honestly, outside, so Sleaze wins the ball back sometimes.
Yeah.
But outside of Sleaze, how many times do you really see Fortune or Muyumba getting in a tackle? I mean, even when they win the ball, because somebody might pull up the stats and be like, it's not terrible for winning the ball. They do win the ball, right? Because they kind of run around a little bit, and then sometimes the ball pops to them. But they're not closing people down. They're not getting in a tackle. When they win the ball, it's because somebody's made a bad pass.
Okay.
Right? They're not making it difficult for people. Neither of those players are really making it difficult. At the end of the day, defensively, your back line, your center midfield, right? You have to make it difficult for people. So, the converse to the whole story about, you're dead if you give up the second pass. If they play the first pass and you have that marked up, and then that guy doesn't really have an option, right? An easy option for a second one. Now you force him to do something stupid, right?
Yep.
That's when you really win, because then they turn the ball over badly. You get a counter, blah, 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 blah. It's night and day. And everything snowballs. Right, like even when we were talking a minute ago, right? Like you have to have an open option, right? If you have one of your guys who's supposed to be the open option, Saba or Almiron, playing along the back line, automatically you have one guy who's not an option.
They win the ball, they look up, and then they're under another second of pressure, and then it gets recycled back.
Well, they just can't pass to themselves.
Yeah.
Right? You can't be up the field open and available if you're marking behind our outside back.
All right, so we've gone through the center midfield. What about center backs, Dave?
Center backs. So let's start with you. What do you think?
Well,
what's good? What's bad?
I think what you want. When I play with teams that were good and you had a good center back, you have somebody who, if that ball got played over the top, you knew they had speed and they could track it down. You need that.
Yep.
I feel like almost every team needs that from a center back to be able to be the trusted guy who's going to be able to keep up with 97%.
You got to be able to win a one-on-one battle for sure. Yep.
So I've always felt more confident when that player was on the field with me that could deal with the ball that was way up high over the top. They were going to either be able to catch up with it or win it as a header 1v1 and get up and just relieve the pressure. Yep. Like that guy's got it.
Yep. Van Dijk being the ultimate example. He's going to chew you up and spit you out.
And then the other quality that can come from a center back is just somebody who's using maybe not their speed, but their vision to cut down things with great angles. And those players typically have a better ability to cut the angle, win it, and then play a really good penetrating ball that breaks a line. So a center back that can break lines once they do win the ball, like to me, that's one of the best qualities that makes a good player in that position.
Yeah, great one.
Anything to add?
Yeah, I would add a couple of things. So to me, organization.
Yeah.
Right? So is your center back actually organizing the team? Right? And I mean this. So again, in taking away the first and second options in the 3 seconds after the ball turns over, right? The question is, once the ball turns over, it's too late, right? Because they either have an option or they don't, right? So it's prior to the ball turning over. When you have the ball, when let's say you're a Braum or you're Williams, right? And let's say Almiron is up the field running with the ball at his feet, okay? That's the moment where you actually see the center backs, right? It's in preparation for what's going to happen, right? Yeah. We identifying, how many players they have up front, who's where, how are we going to do it, right? And one of the things you look at, like at our team, right? If you watch them, right, Braum, Williams, they're so happy that they're not defending anymore. They're just walking up the field, right?
So that brings me to another attribute that I like to see from a center back, which is I want somebody who can be absolutely mean to the other team and to our own team for that matter. And everybody in the stadium or on the field should feel it and know that they kind of have a little bit of alpha in them in terms of, even if they're a jerk, like they're a necessary part of the equation to do something reckless every once in a while.
Well, I would say I would tweak that slightly to say accountability, right? So there's some guys who are just jerks, and that doesn't help you that much. But if you have a guy who's like gonna hold you accountable.
That's what I mean.
Right? Yeah. That's the key, right? Like who's not, not mark, you're not marking and he's not going to let it happen. You're not organized. He's not going to let it happen. Right. Yeah. You get over here. Hey, you get over here. The other thing when it comes to being center back is in the penalty area, right? The ability to read the danger, right? So that means, a guy is driving towards our end line, right? Let's say, and looking for a cross, right? You see the center backs who are just watching the ball and their attacker stopped, right? And they don't know that. Yeah. And they're wide open for a cutback. The best defenders...
Like Morales in the game the other night?
Yeah. The best defenders...
When he looked, he was like, what happened? Did he kick it between my legs? Yeah, that was because you just stopped and didn't realize...
Yes.
Or you kept going and...
So you have to know... Right? So a good center back has to be able to read the danger. So first of all, you have to know if they're playing in behind one of the outside backs, do I stay in the middle and not get pulled out, or can I go win that ball? Making those decisions, right? Reading the game, making decisions, right? But then also once it gets into the penalty area, right? Where is the danger? Where do I, go? How do I stop with the guy? Did he stop? Can I stop? Right? The best ones, I don't know if the guy who played a long time ago, John Terry for Chelsea, didn't have a lot of attributes. He wasn't that quick, wasn't fast for anything, right? But he always, in the penalty area, he never got caught not reading the danger. It was never ball watching, and it was always like, I know where the ball's likely to go, and I'm going to make you make the harder play.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to take away the easy cutback and see what happens, right? So as a center back, you also have to be able to do that. And then the other thing about center backs in today's game, right, is that there are two of them. I mean, occasionally teams play with only three in the back and one center back, but almost every team's playing with two center backs. We certainly are. So then now you got two guys. Right? And one of the things that I see from our two center backs, so when you have two center backs, okay, there are not that many teams, back in the day, everybody was playing 4-4-2, there were two center forwards. Not really. I mean, when's the last time you saw a team playing with two true center forwards? Very rarely. So it's always 2v1, okay? So once you have a 2v1, right, you have to take advantage of that, right? So that means that one guy has to be going to win the ball. It's classic pressure cover, but you have to communicate. What you cannot have is one guy who's freeloading in the system, because if there's one guy freeloading in the system, that means there's one guy somewhere on their team that's open, because people think, well, there's only one center back there, so the two of us get to mark them. There is no way you can have two center backs and their only job is to mark one forward, because you are constantly then leaving somebody else. So the reason why you have two center backs is so that they can make decisions together. One of the guy can go and the other guy can cover.
So that brings me to my next point that is sorely missing. I haven't seen this maybe all year. Correct me if I'm wrong if you've seen this. And when we were clicking with Miles Robinson and he was playing at his best, which he went through moments where he stopped doing this, which is a center back, when we do have time, we're passing it back and forth through the backfield, then looks up and sees green space and can take it.
Take the space.
Take the space, and then you're the X factor as the center back, stepping up through the lines, and then the other team says, oh, shit.
Yeah, that's something that Morales did.
Is it?
The way.
Okay.
He would take the space. He's really good on the ball.
Okay.
I think he really lacks some qualities as a defender, but he's really good on the ball.
So, consistently we've missed that. And, you can't do that all the time. But when you're clicking on all cylinders and you're moving the ball around, that, again, is where some creativity needs to come from a center back to push the team forward by taking that green space.
Or a center back, going forward. I mean, how do you feel about a center back joining the offense?
That's great. Not all the time, but when it's their moment, they should see it and go 100%.
I couldn't agree more. To me, when the team is playing confident and freedom, a center back has to have the ability to not only step and take that space, but pass it off and keep going. Why not?
And it's not like, like Sleece or somebody's not going to recognize that and be like, go on, get it done. And again, we talk about attributes of a great team. Like when you see another teammate kind of go outside of their role, you're excited for them. You want them to, you know.
If you watch Sleece on our team, right, many, many times he is actually marking their center forward, which is a total disaster, right? Because if you have two center backs and your defensive midfielder is marking their center forward, that means you have two guys doing nothing.
Two guys doing nothing and a bunch of cushion between the next set of the wave behind.
There's this huge gap in between. You know, in this last game, it was the first goal that we gave up. No, the second goal. They gave it one right after halftime. The second goal, they were right at midfield. Yeah. They made the so-called split the line pass. But, I mean, their forward could not have been more wide open.
Yeah.
I mean.
It was Zaha and Edwards was marking him, and Edwards just did not just step. All you had to do is just step in front of him, get run over and fouled.
And that's what I was going to say. The next thing is true. Like, so when's the last time you saw one of our center backs actually step in front of a guy and win the ball at midfield?
Well, don't recall that at all.
No.
Yeah.
No. You have to be, as a defender, close enough where if there is a ball played to your player, so let's say your center back marking up their forward, if there is a ball played to them, by the time the ball gets to them, from wherever the ball is, you have to be close enough where by the time the ball gets on them, you can be right on them. Ideally, it's occasionally close enough where you can step in front. Yeah. But at minimum, you have to be close. You cannot, if that guy gets a chance to turn, right? The good players, I mean, you get away with it a lot because a lot of players suck, right? Particularly MLS. But a good player, once you get the ability to turn, like on that play, on that particular play, you know, if you watch it in the end, they ran straight through our defense, right? But the key moment was not when they were running through our defense. The key moment was that split the line pass and when they turned. The moment they turned, it was over. Yeah. Right now, maybe you'll get a bailout. Maybe they'll mess it up, but you're in deep trouble.
Yep. Just watch that replay. So let's bump out to the fullbacks.
Okay.
What makes a good fullback, Dave?
Well, you played some fullback.
Yeah.
I haven't played fullback in a long time, but I used to play some fullback. But what do you think?
Or fullback, winger.
I'll tell you what the modern fullback is selected for.
Yeah. The modern fullback is selected for more going forward than defensive qualities. Mm-hmm. So for me, a fullback is somebody who just is relentless in putting pressure on that, that attack and closing the space, and can just outright defend and keep people outside when they do it. Right. They don't let them come inside. They keep them outside. They push them backwards, constantly pushing them backwards and or winning the ball based on the ball going out to them and getting it at an angle and then turning it over to your team. Right. Like those are the things that make for a good fullback, period.
And to be honest with you, this is not just a critique of Atlanta United, but if you watch across the entire MLS, the number of players who are just being left wide open out wide where nobody can close them down, I mean, it's just shambolic. That's why if the MLS teams, and you saw it, for example, in the World Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, they leave those guys out there, the good teams are like, shh.
Yeah.
You want to leave that guy because as soon as they get it out to that guy and he has a chance to turn and run at
just
people.
On your heels, you're a losing battle.
You're in deep trouble.
Yeah. So there's pinching in and there is leaving a respectable amount of time to be able to get there right when the ball arrives, at least, so that you're making them go the other direction.
And I see it again.
Don't do any more than that, right? Like, don't be pinched in any more than to give
I see
that level of courtesy.
Against us, too. Like, all these teams are just leaving players wide open out wide. Yeah. That's the thing, it's funny because Columbus, for example, Columbus, who I think, Wilfred Dancy is the best coach in the MLS, they lost all those players. They have not a lot of talent left. They're still towards the top of the table. If you watch that team, defensively, they're not that great. But they don't leave players wide open, right? They are organized, and those guys, they go out and actually make it hard for people. Yeah.
And, they need to be super fit. And ideally, at least one of your fullbacks can want and is desired to bomb up and be able to put in a cross, an early cross particularly. So that's a quality that is almost needed by one of the fullbacks, if not both.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on what you have up front, right? I mean, if you have, the kind of team you don't need it, right? Then, but it's always opening it up, right? So that late run on the outside, because again, against anybody, who's responsible for marking your outside back, right? And the answer ultimately is sort of if they have an outside midfielder, but there's not a lot of wingers who are going to track that run that well, right? So that's a dangerous run. If it's unpredictable, if it's well timed, and if you can quickly transition to get people available where that run now is joining the fray as an extra guy and overloading it. We pointed it out all the time with Pineda that, he had the guy up there as a quote-unquote extra guy overloading it, but it was so static, it didn't matter. We would have 2v1 out all day, and their outside back would be like, okay, I don't care. Because he's, if he tries to run, he's going to go outside. He's just going to. Your only choice is to go check back to your own goal and get the ball. Yeah. So that's not good.
So anything else on fullbacks before we go to goalkeeper?
I mean, your fullbacks have, ideally, why is Jedi Robinson, elite? Because one-on-one he can win the battles, right? And defensively, he doesn't bite on bad cuts and whatever, get fooled, right? And obviously, he's got a motor where he can really get up and down.
Yeah, and certainly in this day and age, you've got to have great footwork and be able to play out of tight spaces and feel comfortable in that playing out of the back situation, because those fullbacks often get a lot of pressure on the way that they've got to interchange between the other center backs and the midfielders to get the ball released and get going.
And in the box.
But that's why Jedi Robinson is great too. And he's proven as a U.S. player that he can play under the highest level of pressure and be a part of that super comfortable in tight space. Not only possess ball, but then be bombing down the left side after breaking the lines there.
It also helps if in the box you know how to mark a guy in the box. Right. I talk about, for Manchester United, Lisandro Martinez, he's like, 5'0", right? But he knows how to mark a guy in the box. When he's marking a guy, he will never let you get to the cross first. Never. Right. He will always beat you to it. Like, for example, the goal that we gave up, it was not Hernandez's fault. It was shambolic down the side. We made it so easy for them to get down the side. Williams never came over to make a play. But then on the end of that, they crossed it to Hernandez at the back post, and he had a chance 1-on-1v1 just to get to the cross first, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Right? So all of those things just compound one another, right? Because, would Hernandez be okay if we actually made it hard for people and didn't give up that run up the wing? Of course. Yeah. Right? But once you do that, you also need sometimes occasionally a guy to bail you out and actually make a play. And so often we don't.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Now, goalkeeping, one of the most important things for a winning team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody who is just the absolute concrete confidence builder out of the back. And as much as we love Brad Guzan, those days are gone as far as what I think he brings to the table.
Yep.
Yes, you want a goalkeeper who can be a great shot stopper, and from time to time you still see that from Brad. But I think other attributes now are way more important for what I want from a great goalkeeper in terms of being able to read the game, come out with speed with their feet, and you know that they're going to get out there early and fast, so they almost become this extra center back with their own speed that pushes the two center backs up because they can read that space behind them and shut it down better than most center backs could. They almost have to be like that level of intellect from being able to play the angles. That's just so important in this day and age, almost more important than shot stopping, right? Which everybody's like, oh, Brad Guzan made a great save, but that and just the versatility of being able to get, left and right, being tall, by the way, watching Rios Novas for Miami, who's still starting for Miami. I can't believe they'd be so much better if they had a better goalkeeper.
Yeah, they give up a lot.
He got like run over in their first goal.
Yeah.
The last game.
Yeah, they only just
played
outscored people with Messi, but he's
it was
awful.
5-1. But their first goal was against them, and Novas just got absolutely crushed in the box.
You know, it's interesting on the second goal that we gave up, where they ran right through the middle, right, and you know it was kind of Edwards, and it was a mess. But you know, Guzan came out on that play, and he did not make it hard at all for that finish. Zaha had an easy time on that finish.
His line was so predictable, right?
Yeah.
It was like right at the penalty spot, right?
He made it so obvious, and he was slow to get there.
Yeah.
So Zaha had all day to see him coming and just to slip it by him.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not good. And that's a difference because, you know, Guzan 5 years ago is there, you know, a half second earlier and makes him like force something before he's ready.
Yeah. So, and obviously you want somebody that can just have vision as a goalkeeper and, again, play those just strangely early kicks or throws that just change the momentum. And I think as you become 40, and I can attest to this, like you lose that ability to find that half second.
Yeah.
To see it and then act on it.
Yep.
I think Brad still may be able to see it, but he's still a second slower on being able to throw it or kick it, and it's just behind. It's a second behind.
Yep.
And that is what's missing. So
I agree. You want a goalkeeper who can command the box, who's a dominant presence. That makes you feel so good as a defender that anything, you know, up in the air, he's got your back.
Yeah.
And he's always been that guy, but he's now like occasionally hesitant on it. Sometimes he's on his line when he could come. Sometimes he's coming when maybe he should stay on his line. Like, because he's lost that half second, his decision making is a little off, right? It's not perfect, right? And it's such a fine line, right? Because, you know, there are moments where, you know, you could stay on your line or you could come for a ball, and either of them could work for making the save, but it's if you delay a split second and then come, not going to work, right? Or vice versa, not going to work, right? It has to be precise, right? And it has to work for the goalkeeper who you are.
So in terms of what makes a great team, and I think the exact numbers, right, are a little variable, but you've got to have like 8 super strong players on the team. And I think certainly through the spine of the team, from the goalkeeper to one excellent center back to one excellent midfielder, one excellent creative person to one great goal scorer, you have to have that kind of spine of those 5 or 6 people. And then nice, solid players all around that can fill in and no major weak links. And, you know, obviously you have to have, out of really all 11 of them, this unspoken, for teams that win. Teams that win, all of them accept nothing less than winning when they step on the field. Like that's, they don't talk about it. They don't say it's in their DNA. Like they come from a winning pedigree, whether they've achieved that or not. They are bringing that to the table in terms of like, it's uncompromisable that you would go out there and lose the game.
It's winning.
Like, the expectation is just like, I'm going to win this game no matter what. And if you don't lose the game, you better be the most pissed off person I've ever seen at the end of the game. There's never been a winning team that I played for that even the most joker team out there, which is most of the teams I played on, after the game, like, I mean, there was zero acceptance for the fact that you lost to particularly an inferior team. Now, if another team came out there and they matched you, you kind of have that understanding, but you're not happy. But
But I think, you know, so much is made of, you know, the team's attitude, like how you respond, right? And winning plays, you know, almost always occur before that. Like, so, you know, for example, there's a lot of players who really will respond, like when you go down a goal or whatever, but that's no recipe for being a winning team. What you need is for the guy who makes the extra little tracking run, to cover in somebody's mistake. You need the guy who reads the ball in the box and denies a goal-scoring chance when they get the one time up the field, right? You need the guy who makes a run when he knows he's not going to get the ball but occupies a couple of defenders. Those are little winning plays before it ever gets bad.
That's my favorite part of soccer, is one thing you just said there, that every great team is, and sometimes when it happens, like, no one will ever see it. No one will ever recognize it, except maybe you, the person who did it. When you make a run off the ball, certainly at the pro level, it's on camera, so you are going to see it, and a good commentator should notice that. But when you open up space for another player and you have other players in the team that selflessly do that for you over and over again, especially when you're playing another team that plays into that, and they let it happen over and over again, and that, whether that's like pinching in and giving Gressel that outside space that he used to get all the time, right? Like there's ways to manufacture that happen on good teams.
And they're little force multiplying things, right? I think winning teams is force multiplying. So for example, right, like you have to know what your players can do, right? If you play the ball up top and you've got a guy who can dribble by his guy all the time. I think it was maybe early on, was it Joseph Martinez or something? There was one play that we were talking about years ago, and I think Lennon ran on to be the second option, right? And I was like, all he had to do was stay away, and Joseph had that guy beat or whatever. I don't know, maybe it wasn't Joseph, but whoever it was, maybe it was Almada, whatever it was, he was going to beat the guy. And you have to know when the time they need your help, right? If you're Miranchuk and you're one-on-one running at the guy, he needs that pass, so now he can either play it or fake it and then curl it, right? He needs that all the time, right? But if you have a latte lots of times, you're just bringing another defender over there and getting in his way, right? So you have to understand. Or for example, if you have a latte loth like on this team, right? You need somebody who can play a ball early and over, right? He is a force multiplier if you use it early. If you don't use it early and then he stops running, or worst case scenario, which he's doing a lot of now, which is like hanging in and checking in, that's not going to help your team. You want him over the top looking for that early ball and making defenders super afraid. They're ecstatic when Latte Loth checks to a ball. Yeah. Right? I mean, that is like heaven. Yeah. If you're a defender, you're like, oh, he's not going to run by me because I know I can't stay with him. You're like, come on. So there are combinations, right, that make winning plays, right? And one of the things I wanted you to talk about, and I want to talk about a little bit, is roles, right? The great teams have roles. Like if they have a guy, if you have... going back in the day to when Messi was playing on Argentina, right? They had a couple of those teams that really struggled, Argentina, right? Because it was Sergio Aguero and it was Higuain and some other guys. And they were still playing like in their clubs, like they were trying to be the guy. And what you really needed to do was get the ball to Messi and get out of the way. And then maybe... wait for him to beat the guy and be the secondary guy. I mean, Suarez is perfect at that for now because he's not trying to be the guy. All he knows is Messi going to beat the guy, and I just eventually have to be there. He's going to find me, right? So that's like the two guys fit. Suarez is a terrible player at this point. Like, he's old and slow. It looks like he's about to die. Right? But he still works really well with Messi because he's not trying to do that.
He knows where to be.
He knows where
not to be.
He knows the timing and he knows where not to be. Yeah. And that is a critical thing. The force multiplier, like the roles. Like if you're on the team, there are times and there's so many people who just, are critical. Like Lennon came to the team, and that's when we went right into the doghouse, right? Yeah. It was 7 years he's been here or whatever. We've been terrible. And part of the problem with Lennon is he doesn't know his role. He knows what he's good at, and he just tries to do that regardless. Yeah. Right? And he doesn't know it. Like at times we've needed him to do that.
Because we know he can't defend.
And there are times that we haven't needed him to do that. Yeah. But he's still doing it. Yeah. Right? Because he's like, well, that's what I do. But you're like, no, there's a team. Yeah. right? And there are times when you have to be the guy to just recycle the ball, right? Like if you're Muyumba, right, who, I think is not a really good defender, if you're Jay Fortune, right, we don't need you running in those actual gaps or whatever. We honestly, what we need you to do is hanging back, winning the ball, and just getting it back to Almiron and Saba.
Ask you another question. Some of the best defenders you ever played with throughout your youth and career, did any of them play with their hands behind their back? No. Now, this is an epidemic because
Or did they run away?
But even in the EPL, like the great defenders, they most of the time really don't have their hands behind their back.
No,
unless it's like
unless they're
clearly
about to cross
it, and they do that. It's like last minute. It is a plague in the MLS and particularly for Atlanta United, how early you see everybody, and I make fun of Abram, but it's symptomatic. It's like a disease of how early the arms go behind the back. That's like losing like 1/3 of your balance.
And how
congratulations, you forgot how to play soccer.
And how early they turn and run away. Like it's one thing, like it's totally broken down and you've got a delay and whatever. We have times where we have numbers back, right? So they're attacking with 3 and we've got 4 or 5, right? And they're still just running away. That's where, you're like,
so
okay.
You talk about roles. Your role as a defender is to do what? Defend.
Defend.
Don't run away.
And go try to make a tackle. And you're like, well, at that point, you can dive in. And you're like, yeah, but if you actually if you don't like straight dive in, if you go and make a pretty good effort, you force the guy to push the ball ahead and one of your teammates just takes the ball.
More than likely, they're going to have to take a little bit further of a touch to get around you. And if you have a good other defender behind you, they're going to see that and be your mate.
Yeah, if you have numbers,
you got to go. None of that.
Nothing.
In the last 7 years, for the most part. I mean,
no. I mean, it's we have individual talent. Yeah. But they're not seeing the roles. There's no force multiplying.
No, there's zero force multiplying. And I think that's a great point, is every great team has this hidden force multiplier. You just feel it when you're on that team and it kicks into gear. It's like, oh man, it's like we have an extra player on the field. Like it's a weird thing. It's like a runner's high.
Yeah.
When you're playing in a team.
And there is the opposite. I mean, one of the things that we haven't really talked about.
And we're in the opposite.
Is what makes what we say a force negative or whatever, right? Something that actually detracts a part of it. And we have a lot of the, so for example, the moment Abram or Williams doesn't close a guy and they just back up and they put their hands behind their back, now it's a domino effect because everything up the field changes. Now the coach has to make Saba go defend out wide because Amador is coming in to help them, and it's a force negative multiplier, right? So, for example, again, you go to one of the great defenses recently with Liverpool and Van Dijk. The moment they got Van Dijk on that Klopp team, it was a force multiplier because now everybody knew he had the one guy, right? And everybody could be a little more aggressive, and they did, right? The opposite can be true too, right? If you have a guy who's passive and who's not closing down anybody and is afraid to, now it dominoes into everything else. Yeah. Everything else looks a little bit more off.
And that's what people will ask, like, how can this team that's got all this great talent? Sometimes it is as simple as almost one player that changes that dynamic. And I know Gregerson's dead, but I don't believe he's going to be the guy anymore that's going to be able to change the dynamic.
On the field.
Can't get on the field. I was hopeful for a while he was going to be our guy that did that, but he's
well, we've got the Albanian coming right next week.
Yeah, and there's another signing with Click going
supposed to be a new midfielder.
Katza or something like that, was it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Again, and this is where I actually think, roster construction.
From
right?
Hull City, was that right? Sorry, I shouldn't remember the article. I think looking to sign somebody from Hull City.
When you're roster constructing, right? So, we criticize at times. Like, so when you go and get... One of the things about, if you go back to our championship team, right, is we had a couple of amazing players, right, in Joseph Martinez and Almiron, right? But a lot of the other players were built to do other things. For example, our outside backs really were good defending, right? And that was good because you didn't need it once you've got those players. So we've been incredibly good about getting the players. We've had Almada, we got Almiron back, right? We had, Joseph Martinez before that. We have Latte Loth. We have some really incredible players. Once you get that, you have to know as a roster, I'm not looking for the best offensive outside back. I'm looking for a guy who fits the team in defense and he just wants to give it to Saba and Almiron all the time.
Let them do their thing and smile.
Because otherwise you have two guys trying to do the same thing and nobody doing the other thing.
And you got somebody like Greg Garza who knew his role. He's like, I'm going to defend the shit out of my career right now by being the best defender I can be. And I'll go like we had him on the podcast here and we talked about, Tata give him that freedom. It was like you said, when he won the ball, you're like, hey, free pass. You go ahead and bomb up the field. If you win the ball or there's green space ahead of you, you've got the pass to go up and take the space.
People forget in the championship game, right, when we won the championship, right, in 2018 at home, and we were unbelievable offensively, we started that final with 3 defensive midfielders.
Yeah.
Right? So we had Nagbe, and we had Lorenowitz, and we had the other guy, the Hispanic guy. But anyway, all 3 of them played in the starting lineup, right? So you're like, whoa, wait a second. How do you have an amazing offensive team that's scoring goals for fun and you start 3 defensive midfielders? Because Tata and the team realized, their job in the midfield, they didn't need anybody to go, do things up the front. They just needed to win the ball back and give it back to Almiron.
Yeah.
Right? And that's one of the problems that we've had. We insist on an awesome offensive, Miyamba or Fortune, right? Well, we should be finding a guy who just wants to help out defensively.
That's all they want to do is defend.
Right. I mean, if you, for example, a force multiplier on this team who wasn't really that great a player, no offense, if you go back and take vintage Lorenowitz and put him on this team right next to Sleece, right, and he's the guy, he's going to sit and he's just going to try to win the ball and he's going to do the dirty things, right? That would
pass
be
out to Saba. He's going to pass it up to Miranchuk.
Incredibly more important, right? And so, it's funny because, again, we're looking at the players we have, like, for example, Will Riley, right? Will Riley looks like he's great on the ball, right? The problem is he's the same thing. He's an attacking guy. He's a Miranchuk. He's an Almiron. Yeah. He's a,
Yeah.
Where's the other guy?
We're not saying he's a bad player.
No, I think he looks really talented.
It doesn't fit the role that we need.
Right.
With this money that we put into all the talent, we've screwed up our formula.
Right. You've got to have the balance. You've got to have the people knowing their roles and being willing to do them. Right?
By the way, have you seen the last 8 games in Lionel Messi's stats? Mm-hmm. Something like, I don't know, he's got 7 braces at a.
He scored 2 goals in 6 of the last 7 games.
Yeah, it's just, it's silliness. It's pretty, look.
But again,
that's what you expect from Lionel Messi, right? When you come, is to have those kind of numbers. It's another thing to do it at 38 years old. It's just like.
But that is, one of the things that I'm gonna criticize Miami, right? Because the roster construction is super poor. As soon as you have Miami, as soon as you have Messi and you have also Suarez or whatever, everything you should be looking for is the guys who are just solidifying everything else.
So they're doing that, right?
A little bit now, but they're
bringing in DePaul.
I know, but for years now, they've just been looking for the younger, another attacking guy, awesome guy, whatever. Okay, but you don't need it. And they're just going to get in the way of Messi, and they don't defend. They don't do the little things. Messi's not going to do that.
Well, that's why Messi's bring in my bodyguard, and we're going to fix that. Because Messi probably made that happen.
Maybe he's have that guy.
Where's he coming from? Atletico Madrid? DePaul? I mean, he's only he's not that old. It's 30, 31.
But roster construction, right? Even Amador, right, who's I think has been a pretty good player and a pretty good signing, again, you should be, if I were Lagerwey when I was looking to sign the left back, I would be like, get me the best freaking left back. I don't want to see Wiley, right? No offense to Wiley, right? I don't want to see Bello because neither of them can defend, right? They're really good at going forward, and we don't need it.
Yeah.
We don't.
We talked about that for like 2 years on the podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, but I think it's really interesting is how it is force multiplying and how it gets disconnected too, right? So if you have a team that's pressing and you have center backs who are dropping off and not coming up and matching up, you are a nightmare. Because the moment they press, you work hard, you get out of position offensively to try to chase it. They just play a long ball to the open guy. They turn around. You now run back to your own defense, and you get pissed off. You get tired. You are now no longer pressing when the guy's meant to press. Right? If you look at Latte Loth when he first stepped on the field here, as did some other people like Gigi too, pressing all over the place. Yeah. That lasts for both of them, like, I don't know, 3-4 games until they realize it's useless. Yeah. Right? Well, they just get frustrated.
That's how we started this when I talked about playing up front.
Yeah.
There's nothing more frustrating when you're pressing and the rest of the team doesn't. So it's either, guys, are you coming with me or you're not?
That's right.
And Enrique, our wonderful friend who you make emerald wine with, wouldn't buy into my press. So, and it's particularly in a small field, there's nothing more frustrating than it's like, if you're not going to take my cue, me running a certain direction, and it's even easier to see on a big soccer field that you have to read off. So again, what makes a great soccer team is you have to read off the signals your teammates are giving you and respect that. And you have to do it. Even if they're doing a mistake, you have to help them out. Yeah, in those moments,
a mistake will work as long as the other players are making the same mistake with it, right? And as long as they're connected to it, right? They have to be on the same page. They have to be supporting that, right? I mean, it's fine. Like, for example, if you don't have a guy who presses at all, right? I mean, we've seen Champions League winning teams where the guy up top doesn't press at all. Right, that will work okay if the rest of the team is okay with that, and they're all sitting in and clogging the midfield, and now we go. Yeah. Right, but if you have a guy who's awesome at pressing, and nobody's going with him, it's just it cannot work. So, as a coach, right? So you've watched this. You've played in the back. You've played in the front. How do you coach it? Right. What do you talk to it? Like, how do you do it? How do you get them all doing all the same thing?
From a coaching perspective, I don't know. I'm going to lean on you on that one. For me, it was always on the field of somebody speaking up. And if you let that happen and didn't support your play, you have to have some leaders on the team actually on the field that sometimes allow that not to be acceptable in terms of not shutting down the space. Yeah. I think a lot of that comes from some of the leadership on the field. I don't know. You tell me how much of that comes from like a really good coach, because we're certainly not seeing that from Ronnie Dyla being like, guys, here's the film. Williams, Abram, there's 30 yards here. Why are you shutting the space? Is he that stupid? I mean, yes, he is. So you can coach that with film, but it seems like that should just be inherent on the players in the field also seeing it and saying it's not acceptable. So let's say Gregerson was back on the field. I think he's the type of player that I'd want to be able to look to his left and be like, that shit can't happen. You got to close that space. When I step, you step, we all step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, he keeps talking about the effort, and this and that. And, I think he's looking at the mistakes and saying, oh, if somebody just did this a little harder or whatever. And this is true, right? So there are times which, good teams don't let it happen very often. But even the best teams, there are times when it's out of whack, where the guy supposed to be marking up in the center midfield is not. There's an open transition or whatever. And in those moments, it sometimes takes a heroic extra effort, to make up for it. Yeah. Right. But the bottom line is no amount of heroic efforts will ever do that consistently. Right. Because you have to be able to actually have, a system that works. Right. Because, that's the thing to make it consistent, right? And so as a coach, what I would say is the way you coach it is the first thing you have to do is you have to decide what kind of team you are. And you have to decide it based on the players that you have. I mean, Manchester United right now is going through a horrific time because they have a coach who just decided that that's his system, and be damned if I don't have the players to play it, right? They forced him into it, right? He's got Garnacho as an outside back, right? I mean,
that's smart.
An overlapping outside back, and you're like, that's not his talent at all, right? I mean, and so somebody else, he's going to go someplace else and he's going to thrive, and they're going to be like, the same way Mick Tomé went to Italy and is incredibly thriving because it's just allowing him to do what he's good at, right? But you have to decide what it is, what your team is good at, what you're going to prioritize, how you're going to do it, and then you have to look for the flaws in it, right? So, for example, if you think that you want to recycle the ball up the field, right, and that's everything that you're going to do, and that's the way you're going to play, then you sacrifice Lennon. He can't be part of the team because he's just going to bomb forward and get in the way, and he's not going to defend. He's not going to be the guy who wins the ball back. So you can't have it, right? So if that's the way you're going to play, if you're like, look, we're fine with Almiron and Saba and Miranchuk and Latte Loth, and you don't need to do whatever, then he can't be on the field.
So, all right, what are we in the table? 13th?
Yeah.
20 points?
Yeah, we're second to last, I think.
Just
given up the third most goals, and we've scored the third or fourth fewest.
I mean, absolutely.
We have a minus 16 goal differential.
Atrocious. The Atlanta United Soccer Club is just really, really bad.
And we're worse than the sum of our parts.
Yeah, we totally are.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to be this bad.
Right, and that's why I was saying it's a negative force multiplier because we have all of these great attacking talents that they're trying to squeeze on the field, and nobody who wants to play the role.
Yeah, no one wants to play the role.
No.
And, I mean, certainly our center backs don't want to play the role. They don't want to defend.
Well, they're not capable of it.
They're not capable of it. And to be fair, they're just not capable of it.
Just not capable of it.
And nor is Lennon, right? So that's not the role he should be playing. He has a role maybe on an MLS team.
Yeah.
But it's not ours.
Right.
That's not where he needs to be. Like, we need a true defender on the right. We need two solid center backs. And we definitely need another defensive midfielder to be next to Sleece, and we're okay. That's it. And bye-bye Guzan. Like, I mean, it'd be great if we could get a better goalkeeper, but I'd like to see Cohen in
I mean,
there.
the guy who they had, Hibbert, whatever his name is, he played the one game that so when Guzan got injured, had the face issue, and he's wearing the mask now. He looked fine. Like, I would keep playing him.
So why didn't they play Cohen then? I'm just curious.
Cohen's injured.
In practice, he got injured?
He got injured, I think, playing for the Twos.
Jeez. That's depressing.
Yeah, he got one chance, he's going to get his chance, and he can't even get his chance. But I don't think he's the answer either. But the crazy thing about it is, again, not being able to see it, the fact that he would put Guzan back in the starting lineup.
I think this is the problem with, that's where I give no pass to the front office, right? Like, the Guzan conundrum has been coming for a long time.
Yes.
And to my point on what makes a great soccer team, I've never played on a great soccer team that doesn't have the man in goal.
Yeah.
You're like, holy shit, that's my goalkeeper.
Yep.
And when Brad was the goalkeeper, you knew it.
He was the man initially.
And yes, all the average Joes out there are going to say, but I love Guzan. He's still the man.
We still love him.
We still love him, but he's not the man anymore. On the field, he's not the man anymore. He's just not. And we should have seen this sunset coming, the front office, and invested in somebody to at least come in and give the guy rightful pressure so that he can go out gracefully and get beat out in his role and know when he's getting beat out in his role and then become an assistant coach and carry his legacy on. But instead, they just let Brad Guzan have the mantle, and it has been a poison pill to some degree on this team.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because I think it's because the problem is because of his personality and his leadership.
Yeah, he's awesome.
They think that's going to overcome things, but you have to keep your eyes wide open. You have to.
He doesn't have any competition for his role.
No.
And thus, we're back to mediocrity.
Yeah, somebody should have supplanted him by now.
Yeah. So our front office, and terrible news about Garth and his.
It's really interesting because I've given them a lot of credit. Yeah, I mean, let's first and foremost say, we wish the best to Garth Lagerwey. Yeah. Anything that we say about him is about the team and the tactics. Yeah. It's not as a person. He's an amazing guy, and nothing is ever personal. Like, nothing is even ever personal with Pineda. Nothing is personal with Ronnie Dyla.
Probably some of the best people you'd ever want.
Pineda seems like a super nice guy.
Go hang out with. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I am happy with their contribution, and their role. So.
Yeah. So, the problem, with, Brad Guzan, right, is that, he's got too many leadership qualities and they think that's making up for things. But, you got to be ruthless, right? Yeah. And you got to know when it's going on. And the thing about it is, it's like the front office. I mean, the front office, I've been really, giving them a lot of credit because they've gotten a lot of good players. It's hard to find really good players. And honestly, it's hard to find. They found an Almada and got him here. They found a Latte Lath, who I think has a lot of talent.
P.T. Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, they found players, right? And they've gotten some amazing players, right? Where they have gotten it wrong is that they're
role players.
They're trying to put together an all-star team, right? They're trying to find the most exciting, best player at each position. And everybody knows, right? An all-star team is never going to beat the best team. The best team has all the interchanging parts and they know how to play with each other, right? If you take the MLS All-Star team and play them against the MLS champions, the MLS champions still probably going to beat them because they know how to do it.
And okay, this is where the All-Star team in the MLS is Inter Miami, right? And that's why you're still not betting on them winning the league.
You keep betting on them. I'm not betting on them.
I am definitely betting on them still. I'm still betting on the All-Star League because he's got Messi, who breaks all logic and rules.
Yes.
And it's a dumb bet to go against him, period, at the end. That's the only reason, because it's not the All-Star team. It's the star team.
If you look at the team, though, like Cincinnati, who's in first place, is a really complete team.
But if they play Lionel Messi in a late tournament game, they're going to get their ass kicked.
The other thing that's really surprising, Nashville. How is Nashville in second place, right? Because BJ Callahan, right? So it's actually interesting, right? So BJ Callahan was the assistant coach under Berhalter, and when they fired Berhalter, right, he assumed the position, and he did really, really well. Right? He had a few games in charge of the U.S. national team, and we were thriving.
Yeah.
Right? And then, he moves to Nashville. But you're like, oh, it's just a few games. And it's not that hard, to pick up, when the other coaches effed it up, you just correct the kind of thing. It's kind of like, Glass.
Yeah.
Right? For Atlantic United, Stephen Glass, right?
Or Valentino, you mean?
Or Valentino, Sorry, Valentino. So Valentino did the same thing. He corrected a bunch of the mistakes, let them play, whatever, and did well. And then the question is he really good or not? Callahan only had a few games in charge, and then Nashville invested in him. Nashville was in the dumpster, right? I mean, they were just awful, right? They had the British coach had run his welcome out of the place or whatever. And he comes in, and this is he had half season last season, and then he had his whole season this year. It got him in second place.
Yeah.
That's amazing coaching.
I will take anything other than 4 wins and 11 draws or 11 losses. How many do we have?
So I would, I go back to, what would you do if you were going to fire Dyla, right? You raid, one of the best teams in our division. You get BJ Callahan, you get Noonan, or you get Wilfred, right?
You got to go for Wilfred. Anything less,
But if you get them, you weaken the other team and you strengthen
the front office. They have got all this leverage and they don't seem to be using it the right ways. Mm-hmm. It's just, I agree. I think they are trying to create an Inter Miami without the city to be able to do it.
It's like an all-star team, but it's a bad all-star team, right? An all-star team is not going to win you a championship because you just got nobody doing the dirty whatever.
Except for
and they're all getting each other
Miami.
Way.
I'm correcting you.
No.
Okay.
They're not going to win it either.
I feel a bet coming on. We already have
that bet. You've already lost that bet. I mean, you haven't lost it yet, but you're going to.
No way.
You've already made that bet. You can't make the bet again. You picked them from the beginning.
I can't?
No.
Come on.
You know who I picked?
You probably picked like LA Galaxy, who's like the worst team in MLS. I don't know.
No.
What did you pick?
I picked Cincinnati.
You did. Okay.
They're in first place.
Yeah. Wow.
Good pick.
Yeah. Well, that's the great thing about the MLS is, they might win the Supporter Shield, but
They might. Again,
they'll probably get knocked
season.
out right out of the get go.
I mean, eventually if they win it all, they're going to win.
Yeah.
If they have a really balanced team, they have it all. And they made the right, additions to that team. But that team, they've got a couple of real superstars on offense, right? But then the other players are complementary, and their defenses are real defenders, right?
All right. So summer has been full of soccer, right? We've had the Gold Cup. We've had the Club World Cup. We got Leagues Cup coming up, baby. Yeah.
Still exists. How does that still exist? How's that a thing?
It seems like it's run its course. Even though you and I were excited about it, it seemed like a good idea. We
had a comment about it was Hibbert who was, I was saying, the goalkeeper, the backup goalkeeper. Yeah, go ahead.
And the Colonel's giving you the happy birthday on the
Thank
big
you.
5-0.
Thank you, Colonel.
So, I don't know. Did you tune into any of this? Club World Cup, waste of time? Do you think it's just a FIFA money grab? Or, I mean, you got to love the concept, right? Of like, who's the best club team in the world? But is it worth, with so much soccer, is it really, it's not plausible to pull it off is the problem.
I mean, here's the problem, right? It's the timing, right?
Yeah.
So they have a super long club season, and now they've extended it or whatever, and then and then those guys, God bless them, they got to go 2 weeks later. Yeah. They get the week off, and then they go back, and it's just a recipe for disaster. It's actually interesting if you look at the Gold Cup, which is another version of that, right? So whatever the reason or whatever, we had our best players who didn't play. Pulisic, Jedi Robinson.
Injuries,
right?
A lot of injuries that were real.
Didn't play, right? So now Weston McKennie didn't play, but he played in the Club World Cup, so that's bad. But anyway, the Mexican took all their players. And the question is going to be a year from now, as you're leading into the World Cup, do those guys benefit? Do they look, fit and healthy and a little bit quicker because they've really had a longer offseason? It's a gamble because you miss out on the time of them getting to know each other and the team. I would say I think it's worth it because you never have a national team that's ever going to play like a club team that's really perfectly synchronized. You just want to have a lot of the best players in the right spots.
You and I kind of argue. I think there's a bunch of drama over the Christian Pulisic not coming, and he said, "Hey, give me the 2 Nations League games, and then I'll take off."
Right.
Or, this was behind the scenes, like him asking, not him demanding, by the way. And then Pochettino was like, no. But I still think Christian Pulisic should have come back and been a part of this thing, even if he rested like 90% of the time. It sucks. Nope. He's got so much pressure on him. I get it that he needs to rest. The one thing that you don't want for Christian Pulisic, since he's gone on a 2-year run with AC Milan and hasn't injured himself, is to get injured again a year before the World Cup. 100% behind that.
Yep.
So you still got to come back under extreme circumstances, given you got these older players that will do it for their teams who are the greatest players in the world. He can do it. Call me a Gen Xer, whatever. Don't care what you have to say. I know I'm right here. After thinking so much about this, it's tortured me. He should come back, and Pochettino should have made sure at any cost he wasn't going to injure Pulisic and give his minutes sparingly throughout the entire process. Maybe he only played in the Mexico final.
I disagree. I actually think that the moment you bring him into camp, it's not just about the minutes. It's about, psychologically, if you have time off and you're not thinking about football, like that's a big thing, right? So if you're just with the team, traveling, whatever, even if you don't play a lot of minutes, it's not abuse of your body. It just takes a toll. Like you need time to forget about the fucking game.
Oh, God, he's 27 years old. That is his job. It's his game.
I get it.
I just disagree. Like, he's got to love it that much. I don't care. He doesn't need time off. He's got plenty of time off. You got all the time in the world. You're in your 20s. Are you kidding me? That's like looking back at college and be like, I didn't have enough time off.
No,
you're full of nonsense.
It's
he needs
not
to
a
be back
physical
here.
thing.
Do you think Messi wouldn't want to be part of he's never been like, no.
That is not true.
Yeah.
When he was in his prime or whatever, multiple times he was like, I needed time off, and he didn't come back. He refused call-up. So, no. Yeah. He did the exact same thing Pulisic did. Because he's like, I'll be ready, and you're going to need me there. Just give me a few weeks off.
That may have happened once.
There was a whole series of moments where he did it.
But that's because of also a lot of the pressure from Argentina and politics.
The whole thing.
So you may be right on that one period with Messi.
Yeah.
But overall, come on. And we're talking, completely different levels.
No. Yeah, of course.
And Pulisic's under way more pressure. And then he's got to come out. Then he's got to come out and say what he said to defend himself. And then you got Pochettino. It's just more, it's so ridiculous, the back and forth that U.S. Soccer Federation and the coach and the players can't get right.
All right. I want to bring this back to Atlanta United. Oh. And I want to talk about the last 2 transfers. Okay, so we just this afternoon released Click.
Yep. Put them. So what does that mean when you put somebody on waivers?
We're only allowed to waive like 1 or 2 players a year, but you're allowed to waive them, which means you can just
No.
And I don't think you can like contractually you still have to pay his contract. That doesn't get you out of that, but it gets you out of the salary cap coverage. So right. So from a club standpoint, I mean, so Arthur Blank may still be paying him a lot, but it doesn't count against their cap.
But which is why we can bring in this new maybe Hull City guy who
can bring somebody in
wages.
And then the other thing that was hilarious, on Saturday night at halftime, Morales doesn't appear in the second half. Right, he played the first half. He doesn't come out of the locker room. And then after the game, Ronnie Dylas says, he just told me that he had run himself out and he couldn't go. And you're like, he's 20 years old, and at halftime he hasn't been starting that many games. It seemed really weird at the time, and it turned out it was total BS, Mikey Dobbs. Yeah. Because it turned out they transferred him at halftime.
Yeah.
That's why he couldn't go back in the game, because Montreal wouldn't let – once you make the moment and you sign him, you can't play him in there, because if he gets hurt – and then it becomes a huge dispute, right? Do we owe him the money or whatever? So you literally have to stop him that moment. Yeah. So they transferred him at halftime. That's why he didn't go back in the game.
That's amazing. I thought I read something on that. He's at Georgia Tech trying to get his degree at the same time, too, so he can't finish his degree.
So how do you feel? So first of all, right, this is now another – young center defender following on the footsteps of George Campbell, who we sent to Montreal and who is now going to the Premier League, I believe. Right? He's transferring from
George
Montreal.
Campbell is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So this was the second young center defender who's going to Montreal. How do you feel?
I feel like, again, since Frank de Boer left, that nobody knows how to defend as a coach on this team. There's zero defense.
Right. So you're fine with seeing him go, or
nobody knows how to coach a defender. So of course I'm not fine. If he's a guy we wanted to develop next to some of these other players, we need depth there. So not particularly, no. I don't like to see our players who are Miles Robinson, George Campbell.
Campbell's on his way to West Brom, by the way.
West Brom. Okay. No, it's clearly not being able to identify again the roles that we need on our team.
But do you think he's the guy or not?
I don't know enough about Morales, to be fair.
I think he's not the guy. I mean, I actually think Morales has talent.
Can you? I mean, I don't think there's enough of a resume there.
Multiple times I've seen people just run right through the middle on us, and he's like, where'd he go? He has talents, really does. He's aggressive. He's not Williams and Abram who bravely run away. He's not that. He doesn't retreat. He'll go in and try to make a tackle. I think occasionally he's over aggressive. He's really good with the ball at his feet.
Sounds coachable. To improve that if you have the right coach.
But the first thing you said about the center back was what?
The first thing I said about the center back was they've got to be able to step up and put some elbow grease on people.
Well, you said a ball over the top.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, so
that was the very first thing.
I said that needs to be a quality of one of the two center backs.
Well, he can't do it.
And you also said he can't read the game, which is the other side of the equation.
I don't know if he can't read the game.
Okay, so there you go.
But he can't that ball over the top, he's not quick. He's not strong.
Right, well, then can it be a Terry then?
Yeah, maybe.
So that's what I'm saying.
Be a Terry, yeah. I want both of my center backs to be able to do that.
You almost never have two center backs that can be blazing fast.
Cincinnati.
The ideal is you got the guy who's got wheels, and you got the guy who's got
Cincinnati has
angles.
3
wheels and angles.
They have 3 guys who can do that, right? They have 3 guys, maybe 4, but certainly 3 guys who can do that. Whatever. Okay, so that's one thing. And then, how do you feel about Click?
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
I told you that when we were at the game.
So why did Click not click?
He's...
So to speak.
I think he's lost it, honestly. First and foremost, he lost it.
I actually think, you go back to his days in Leeds, and he was an all-energy box-to-box, and he was really good on the ball. And I think you're right that he's no longer that box-to-box guy. He's still really good on the ball, but he's a luxury player at this point.
I saw him frustrated and again, doing the things I like that we're missing, which is just like, I need somebody at this point to start smashing some people, and he did that, but it was almost so stupid. It wasn't even like he was trying to get away with it. It was like, you're just going to get red carded out of the game. Not that I don't have an appreciation for that, but I think there has to be at that level some tact to it that he was completely missing.
Yeah,
he was just losing his head.
But again, it depends on what you. So I don't know anything about the new signing. Maybe we should look into it. But if they bring in a God help us, there's
a center back we already signed.
Yes,
who is that?
He's from Albania. He played in Portugal.
Okay. And then we have, I suppose, a new signing from Hull City, who's another center back.
No, he's a center midfielder.
Oh, center midfielder. Okay.
Yeah, to replace Click. So, Mike, that's what I'm saying.
God
help us if he's an attacking player in any way.
Yes.
No. We don't need another attacking midfielder.
Well, if he plays for Hull City, he's probably a defender. Let's be fair.
You know what his name is? I'll look it up.
It was something like Alteze or something like that. Altaze, something weird like that.
Talk for a second.
I'm Ismarit.
I don't know him from Adam.
All right. So, front office, Dave.
Yeah.
Bringing in these new players now, do you think it's the right timing after a season that's pretty much already lost? Just scrambling, spending all this money again on players that may or may not be a fit with a lot of real strategy. Because look, we're already looking at 2026 at this point.
Yep.
This season is done.
Gone.
So why are they trying to use all our TAM and GAM and all this monopoly money in a way that might not be the right way?
There's a big question, which is Ronnie Dyla get another year? So if this is being done because you're committed to Dyla gets more than 1 year, and they're doing it because this is what he thinks the problem is.
100% he's getting another year. Because, honestly, after the last couple of games, if you're not strong enough as a club to send a message that this is unacceptable for a fan base, we're already at...
Wait, now you're going to confuse. Is Ronnie Dyla getting sacked, or is he getting a second year?
I think he's definitely getting a second year, because why not have fired him 3 games ago when this thing was such a disaster?
I see.
This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
At any other... this is ridiculous. He's got so much talent. He should be seeing the things that you and I are talking about and fixing it so we're not 18th in the East, or even if there's 18 teams in it feels like we're 18th, Dave. Even though we're probably only 13th.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
Yeah.
He has taken us to such a new low that he's such a crappy coach.
Yeah.
He's literally that bad that anybody else just driving the bus there would have us maybe 1 level up at worst.
It's actually interesting, if you look at Pineda, they brought back for his second year. And in his second year, he actually had a much better year. They finished 6th. And then they gave him a third year because of that. Yeah. And that was a disaster, because it turned out it was a fluke, the whole thing. It was just, he was terrible the whole time. So why bring back Dyla? Why?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Honestly, if Dyla, we'd have us at 6 right now, I'd talk about firing him. This is ridiculous.
We have We have a fan who's giving us the name Steven what is this? Alzate.
Oh, that's
the whole guy.
city.
The whole city. So if you know whether or not he's an attacking player, you can let us know. Say, hey, Google AI, is
I had the letters mixed up, eh? But yeah, it's all too late for this season, obviously. Yeah. So it's a clear message that they're giving him a second year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way they're not.
But would you?
Would I?
No.
Not after seeing the fact that Abram again started so many games that you lack the creativity or the brains to realize you absolutely have to change something from somebody who's running backwards, not defending.
Yeah.
And now we got Derek Williams who's doing the same thing. Like those guys,
terrible too.
Yeah, so bad.
You're so bad. Those guys should be gone.
And just putting in some other options and letting these guys play with no fear. What do we got? We got another comment.
we got from the fan base, right? Alzate had 2 loan spells at Standard Liège where he played under Atlanta United head coach Ronnie Dyla. But you didn't say whether he was offensive or defensive.
Yeah.
He's a center midfielder, I know, but I don't really know that much about him.
Let us know, Troy.
What are his stats? Does he ever score? If he scores, that's bad. We want a guy who doesn't score.
Yeah.
I mean, you laugh about that.
Yeah.
How do you bring in someone? Yes, we want a guy who doesn't score.
Yeah. We want a guy who knows how to tackle.
Yeah.
Knows how to close down spaces. Keep the ball. And
Nagbe doesn't score, right?
Yeah.
Nagbe's, how many championships has Nagbe won in the MLS?
3 or 4?
Yeah, I think it's 4 now. Yeah. Right? And he doesn't score. I mean, he scores a wonder goal every now and again, but he probably averages a goal a year. Yeah. That's what we want. We want a guy who averages a goal a year. Yeah. We want an Nagbe, but we want an Nagbe in his prime. That's what we need. That's the guy we need. And that's the glue, right, that goes with it. Troy says that he's typically a defensive midfielder, so maybe there's hope. But, if he does that, we're going to Ronnie Dyla, here's what's going to happen. You know how not good Ronnie Dyla is? Ronnie Dyla is going to bring him in, and he's going to replace Sleece. He's going to play with this guy, and Sleece's going to go to the bench. Like the same way Pineda did it, right? Do you remember?
But who would he put in? Did he put in Muyumba in this guy?
He would have Muyumba and Fortune, yeah.
Because Muyumba had a header in the last game?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, God.
Who was the...
Again, we don't want Muyumba up there scoring headers. We want Latte Lot and...
I mean, Pineda felt this way, right? So we got a really good another defender. And instead of actually playing them both, he just replaced one with the other. That's not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Right? Play them both. Free the rest of the team. Right? And for God's sakes, please get rid of Lennon.
To close out this podcast, Dave,
okay,
you brought the theme of what makes a great soccer team.
What makes a great team?
Is there any other
terrible team?
Are there any other ingredients that you need to have a great soccer team? There's all this talk about culture and yada yada. But
it's culture. What culture is having players. I'll tell a story from when I was in high school. So when I was in high school in New York, we won the state championship of the big schools, which is really hard to do. You got to win 8 consecutive single elimination games. We were one of the best, high school teams for a long time. And we were down in the Long Island championship game. We were down 1-0, okay? And the coach, who was an idiot, right? The coach, got in there and he said exactly what Dyla said. You got to, play it harder. They're outworking us, blah, blah, blah. And it was a really interesting situation because it was from a local team.
But is there any coach that has never said the way you just said, by the way?
No.
Every coach ever who's even a great coach.
I bet there are.
Come on. They all say that in those moments.
No, the best coaches. It's very rare, but I think there are. But anyway, so.
I'm just not buying what you're selling on that, by the way, just to throw you under the bus on that. Because every coach, even Klopp or whoever, they're going to be like, "You're not playing hard enough."
Let me finish the story.
Go ahead.
Right, so I played center midfield. There was two of our center midfielders, and I was the leading scorer in the state of New York from center midfield. I had, I think, 13 goals and 13 assists or something my senior year from center midfield. Right.
Anyway, was that guy I played with.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we had played. I had played on the same club team as all these guys, right?
Yeah.
We had the starting 11 I had known since I was like 5, right? And we got on the field, and one of the guys who was really a friend, who was probably our best player, he says to me, we got in a huddle. He's like, "Look, forget what that was, what the coach said." Right? He said, "There's one guy on their team who's just killing us.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good, and we weren't expecting. He's just killing us.
He's the danger.
He's the danger." And he said, "So what you need to do," he looks at me. He's like, "What you need to do is mark him out of the game. Don't do anything but mark him out of the game, and we'll go get the game back. Leave it to us to go get the game back." Yeah. And I said, "Okay." I said, "You have, it's 45-minute halves." I'm like, "You've got 35 minutes to go get the game back. I'm going to mark him out of the game. And at that point, if we're not back in the game, we're not taking the lead, then I got to go forward and join us and try to get a miracle." Yeah. Right? I marked him out of the game. He never touched the ball in the second half. We came back and won. But I was willing to do it. Yeah. We were smart enough to realize that, yes, that was the right thing to do. And as the leading scorer in a game that we were down, instead of being the guy like, I got to go make, the goal and get us a goal back, which I should have been the guy to do. I was one of the guys who could score for us. I was like, I get it, and I have to use my talents in other ways. Yeah. So that's what you need.
I think you just dug yourself a hole in terms of
no.
coaching being the most important thing, which is what you always stand by. And I've always been like, it's more about the team and what you got to is an important. Every great team that I've ever played for, which honestly is not that many. I might be 2 teams that were like playing at like a high level because it's a rare thing.
Very rare.
So I honestly, maybe only once, if I'm being honest with myself, where it's probably Sting when we played really well. Like we're playing at a level above our pay grade.
Yeah.
That's kind of a rare thing. And on that team, you had the same respect of, there was no egos. It was like, look, hey, can you go do this? Because I'm going to have, Jean or whoever will go score. Like, there was the respect and the understanding between the players that didn't have an attitude and to know their role.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a problem with somebody else telling them what to do. I think there's a real problem, and it's a plague on a lot of teams, of even players who are friends. Like when you're on the field and you're there to win, like, hey, you go do this. And they're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Like, to me, if you have any of that on a serious soccer team, you have no chance of being a winning team. I think that might be one of the most important things on a winning team is the players. It's a very fine balance between what is the right level of respect between the players and being like, hey, you go do this. I need you to do this, and you go do it. To be a winning team.
The interesting thing, though, I mean, it's clearly semantics, but I would argue that what that was in that huddle, that was coaching. It just wasn't coming from the coach. So I guess
that's a little bit cheeky.
Well, no. What I would say to you actually is maybe this is something that where we can reconcile our differences. Sometimes the coach is on the field. And if the other players are willing to listen to them and they can make adjustments and do smart things,
100%, I agree.
That to me is not.
But that's not what's solving. That can solve things in a given game, like a championship game, like you're talking about, like leadership on the field in those moments. But you have to have the rest of the equation figured out by the coach for the longevity of a tournament or a season for that to be sustainable.
I mean, there's the famous moment with Michael Jordan hit the national championship winning shot for North Carolina, and it was, tie game in the national championship last thing, and they had the huddle, and Dean Smith is the coach, and you got this and that, whatever, and he said, look around the stadium. This is what you've been living for your whole life. Is this fun or what? Yeah. That's what he said. Yeah. And then he drew up a play. Yeah. But he was like, look, and that I think. you know, and you're talking about, has there ever been a coach to not say, you know, whatever. I think there are moments. There are coaches who really get it.
It's pretty, those are pretty far in between, I think.
Yeah, they're very rare coaches.
I also think even those rare moments with those coaches get embellished a lot, too.
Of course.
Because most of the time they're pretty pissed that the team is playing like shit in that moment, and they're like,
yeah, but what I'm saying is, if it's down, you know, the really good coaches are not just going to say, they know when it's down because his team is not playing hard enough and they need to play harder, and they know when it's down because there's something wrong.
Yeah, they know that there's not a time to just yell at people. I get that.
Yeah.
All right, have we talked about it all?
I think we have.
I think we have too.
I don't know if we should even dance it off. Like,
no,
there's no joy in Mudville.
This episode was ATL on ice.
Yeah,
we're just gonna let it,
and it was very somber.
So, in the comments, let us know what you think makes a great soccer team.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd love to hear that, or on any of the social channels.
And what makes a terrible team.
And what makes a bad team. And yeah, I think absolutely Ronnie Dyla's got a pass into, at least, again, like Pineda, at least probably till May of next year. If he's not if there's any signs that things are heading the right same direction. If they don't fire him,
they were going to fire him.
That's right. If they were going to, they would have done it 3 ties ago.
I don't know. I mean, I get that, but so if he finishes second to last with this team, you think he gets another year? Or last even?
Yeah.
That's
how this is Atlanta.
I don't see that.
We're already there. Like, why not fire him already?
No,
then?
because there's
somebody.
Arthur Blank never likes to fire a coach in the middle of the season. And blah, blah, blah.
Arthur Blank's. I guarantee you, Arthur Blank's patience is at the same level as mine.
Sure.
On results.
Sure.
Arthur Blank at this point doesn't care about process or any like courtesies. I think he would have fired him 3 months ago.
Well, it's not him anymore. It's his son anyway. But he's just watching. But
you know, like it is so toxic in the Atlanta United fandom right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They can't not fire him.
But why wouldn't they have already done it then?
Because you don't want to be churning a coach like you give him a season. Well, it's already lost.
What outside coach would be like, you don't deserve to get fired for what's happening here?
I get that, but
that's not a churn thing.
But firing him now doesn't help because it's not like it's salvageable. Right? It's not like it can
nothing is salvageable.
Yeah, I agree.
Everything is
so you can
awful.
Wait. Fire him in the day the season ends. That's fine.
No, I'd rather be on a global hunt and go ahead.
I would have the search on now.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Search is on now, and announce it. Be like, Dyla, see us out.
Tata Martino.
And then as soon as we find a coach, we're going to fire you that day.
Tata Martino.
Yeah.
He's available.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to come to this dumpster fire.
We got rid of the guy he hated, Bocanegra. He loved Arthur Blank. Yeah. He loved Atlanta United. He hated Bocanegra.
Yeah. Is he down in Argentina now? Where is he?
And he actually, I think, liked Chris Henderson.
Okay.
Because he worked with him in Miami. I think he actually liked him a lot.
All right. There we go. A little silver lining to end on ATL on Ice. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening.
All right. Yeah,
and Dave, you're traveling. What are we going to podcast next? Carmen will be back.
No.
We have the band together.
Next week.
All right, good. Let's do it. All right, thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Take care.